my friends, if this is your first time here, then welcome. This spread for this particular reading has been developed over years to really find a combination that really works. And also, just to let you know, this is not that your ex is coming back and just like I'm throwing this on you. No, this is for the people who actually are still having a connection, or maybe they're anticipating kind of like that something still is ongoing. They still want something to happen with their ex, such as like maybe hoping for a reunion. If you're not wanting your ex, then please, this is not a reading for you. Check my monthlies instead. So in a moment, I'm going to explain the cards, but at the same time, I'm going to provide a timestamp for those people who already know it. If you're the first time here, please go to the explanation. But before I start this, yay, there's like something that you waited for entire year, my 2019 annual Taroscopes. It's time to pre-order. So you can go www.cattarot.ca/annual, and that's going to get you to the form. The moment when I make the first one, this price of $19.99 for individual sign or $39.99 for all signs is going to move to $29.99 for one and $59.99 for all. So this is like your opportunity to really grab a good deal. If you remember the last year, then they were like about hour and a half to 2 hours long. It was covering all kind of like segments and career and love and family and so on and so forth. In the description of this video, you are going to be able to see the 2018. So just like scroll down below and check it. Okay, so the next is to kind of like jump into this explanation, and for my regulars, here is a timestamp, and just jump right straight to the reading. Okay guys, as you're going to see, I don't know if you can see the difference in colors. Look at how old is this deck, about 25 years old. And the same cards exist in this deck as well. So I am choosing these 7 cards because they're going to be able to give me that combination, that magic key, and the answer that you really want. So let's start. Like, first card that I have taken over here is the Magician. And the Magician is really going to tell me about what is going on for your relationship. If this is really a go, if your relationship can actually fly. It's also going to tell me if your relationship was ever a starter. So both positive and negative is going to give us some answers. The next one is going to be the Temperance reversed. And usually the Temperance upright talks about stars are aligning and everything is like kind of like working together. When it is reversed, it tells me what is really not gluing and what kind of like things you still really need to pay attention and even work on in a relationship. So it's kind of like a really important combination of the two. Then we are going to have the Queen of Wands and also Knight of Wands. With these two cards, they are going to be significators for you and your mate, right? So they are interchangeable. You have to kind of like decide which one are you, and you're going to know it as when I start reading which one applies. This is the energy in between the two of you, and it's going to tell me if there is any communication and what's going on. Is there any manipulation? Is there any approach? And so on and so forth. Kind of like really important as well. Then we have Karma card. Many people disregard, karma, who cares? Well, let me ask you this. If you're now looking back in the past and you think about your relationships, isn't this like, a point that you think, I should have skipped this one? You see, this is really what is telling you about it. Maybe you really go, I want it. But karma is telling you, maybe, sweetie, you shouldn't be going in that direction. So that category is very important, because if you're not in sync with karma, everything will be breaking and things will not be coming your way, right? And then lastly, we have Four of Wands, and Four of Wands is kind of like going to tell me where is like this whole relationship going on and what can you do. So let's start with the reading itself. Hello my dear Pisces, and end of October, November is your ex coming back. So again guys, just make sure, because it's a general reading, that you check your ascendant, you check your sun sign, which is probably the one that you're watching, check your ascendant, and check your moon sign. And if you really want to get more pieces together, your Venus sign, it also kind of like shows your attitudes toward love, and your partner that you might be cross-watching, their Mars sign would show you how basically, you know, the energy that they actually have. So nothing really beats the date with me. So if you guys want a private reading, this is like still on special for 50 bucks. So this is kind of like more than just he's coming or not coming. So it's kind of like a healing exercise. So let's start. Whoa, the Hangman and the Six of Swords reversed. This kind of like indicates to me some kind of like state of limbo. And if you're hearing crackling in the background, that is the Safi and that Safi and Matrix kind of like trying to get into bags. So just so you know, they're close by. The Hangman, it's a kind of like willing sacrifice. You know, we always make sacrifices in life. I'm not going to buy this now because I'll save money to get something later. In this particular case, in this card, is really talking about a little bigger sacrifice to really understand what's going on. You know, sometimes two people take position and they kind of like get to the point of an impasse and you cannot like move forward. So there's like somebody who is saying, okay, you know what, I'm not going to be in control here. Just let's kind of like get it on. I need to understand. Maybe I'm going to see something I'm not seeing right now. And it's like literally putting yourself in other person's shoes and seeing things from their perspective. And it is coming back to resolving some matters. Whether this is you kind of like going back and saying, you know what, I have to look at these things. I have to figure out what was and why it was. It's almost like getting into trouble back, but with a sense of seeing that through a different perspective. So that's kind of like really important. Well, look at this. We have King of Wands, the High Priestess, and Two of Wands. So King of Wands does have manipulative energy. I really feel that it could be kind of like two possibilities over here. I really don't think that at least at this stage, early stage, like let's say October, that's going to be much communication. But there is like thinking. Like looks like you guys, Pisces, are thinking about somebody, and that somebody is like already probably looking in a different direction. As you can see, it's kind of like you have been dealing with someone who kind of like forgets quickly, and that really needs to tell you a story. Do you really want to be involved with somebody who's going to just consider everything you had with them as yesterday's newspaper, not important, yesterday's news, right? So it is like somebody who kind of like really moves forward, and maybe you're like looking at their action. Maybe there was like a little bit of gaslighting here, that they were telling you, no, you know, you don't know what you're seeing, kind of like don't believe your lying eyes kind of a thing. Karma is saying that the situation was literally for you to realize about defeat, to learn about defeat, to kind of, you know, it's kind of harsh. We live in a society, especially us in the Western world, that we need to move forward, we need to be individual, we need to be, you know, goal-oriented, we need to win. But we also never learn how to lose, and we find loss a bad thing. We are embarrassed. But in terms of karma and in terms of destiny, this is the biggest lesson you can learn. Here is telling you that there was like some kind of suffering, or this kind of like indication of maybe being in a limbo, but it's almost like a pregnant pause. There are lots of things brewing. You're understanding that certain things cannot go forward, but at the same time, you are trying to go back in order to not to make the same mistake again. It's, you know, that kind of like thing that say, oh, you just keep going forward and doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That's kind of the definition of insanity. So you are kind of like preventing, you're getting vaccinated against insanity, and you're saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to face my fears, I'm going to look at this, I'm going to see why things really got so hard, and what he or she could maybe think or see. At the same time, kind of like reviewing, almost like, you know, what happened here, what happened here, how would that look from the other side, did I kind of jump the gun? Because it does look a little bit like that, that maybe you know, this one person really wanted so much. Look at here, we have the king, and here only we have the two. So it's almost like that you were two ships like in the night, kind of like didn't even have the same goal over here. So we have the Page of Swords and King of Swords. Lots of thinking. I do see lots of thinking. Look at these swords. And this thinking is kind of really interesting because Page of Swords is like still a very young energy, still kind of exploration. You're still going into school, you're learning about concepts, you're willing to kind of like make errors. King of Swords is not the one who wants to make errors. He already kind of like absolved that, he mastered it. He went through like 7, 8, 9, 10 years of kind of like going through the same thing, and now, well, if I do this, this happens. If I do this, this happens. Kind of like it's very clear about the direction where this is going. Hi, Xavi. You love Pisces? How much? A lot? Very much? Oh my gosh, you lovely girl. Come on, come on. So this King of Swords, guys, is here showing up for you in a category, and we'll see if the cards are going to stay after this kind of like visit. It's something that feels unjust, and I really think it's kind of like coming back to that perceived loss or perceived rejection. And you know, we always try to move away from things that we don't like, right? I was like reading book, the latest audiobook listening rather to say, from David Spade, and he was like saying something, well, you know what, I am short, and you know, I have a small penis. So he said, why wouldn't I say it? Why would I be embarrassed and try to make everybody around me hide it? I was like really giggling. But really, we live in a society where we are getting really kind of prickly. You cannot say that people are fat, we're getting offended. It's kind of like fat shaming. And I'm not saying that I'm for it. I'm just like saying here, there is like this understanding, look, I really need to kind of like go down to the bare truth, even if that truth is like very uncomfortable. So if something is happening that is like really not what we wanted, maybe somebody just made us in a very uncomfortable situation, right? So let's see what is here, right, Xavi? Yeah, this is a clear indication. Look at them, they're like running away, walking away. They feel, and this is, I think, the best indication what kind of person this is. It's a bad person leaving you out in the cold. It looks like that maybe you didn't get your closure, and you maybe are expecting the closure from someone, but there is like, you know, radio silence over here. It just like feels you're like left to your own devices and just like deal with it, and like who cares about you, kind of a thing. And I really think, you know, like that's the worst part in a relationship. And even when you move on, hearing about your ex getting married or, you know, being in a serious relationship is always kind of like something that kind of like shakes you, makes you kind of like stop, and you know, and you're kind of like going in this kind of like emotional stage. But here it really feels like being devastated. It feels like you're still dealing with the past and past issues. There are like lots of things. Look at here, you have like 3 of Wands, and it's a big loss because it looks like you put lots of faith in this person, and this was like your confidant, your best friend. But you have to ask yourself, why did you want this person to be your confidant and your best friend? Or what happened? Were you overreacting and something happened that maybe they just didn't have an option to leave? Because King of Wands reversed can be very manipulative, and this is how they see you. I mean, again, guys, it can go both ways, so don't jump at me, oh no, that was not me, that was them. Because again, that's what I said, you need to check your ascendant and see this a little bit more that way. And then we have the Lovers. There is like a new choice. We have to start making new choices. We have to start going in a new direction. Like with this person, honestly, things really got so bad that there are like lots of directives saying you need to kind of like pull it in. Like she's just observing and kind of like looking at things through kind of like that prism. So this is like a second sense. So we have 2 7s and we have 2 6s over here. And actually we have 3 6s. So this is really karmic relationship. And this is why it's kind of like really, really shaking you up. They clearly didn't have the balance over here. Maybe you offered all the love you want to offer and they didn't take it. And you feel, why not? I'm giving you all of that. But you know, if people are not ready, people run away. It's like putting like too much weight on people. They collapse if they cannot carry. It's same thing with emotion. And the options and possibilities were clearly there. This kind of like was something about that kind of like learning experience. And I really feel that the learning experience was the painful one, kind of learning how to deal with defeat, learning how to deal with loss, and maybe even injustice. Maybe you guys flew off the handle, but for a reason, because we don't see what was happening here in September. We have to backtrack to those readings. But I absolutely see that somebody was like pushing too hard, another person was like not engaging. So it was like elastic band lost elasticity, blah. You know, that's like attraction, that elasticity. It's kind of like when you push it too much, it just kind of like strikes back the other person. And even with good intentions, like things kind of like can go off. Look at that. This is another 7. Very spiritual lesson. It was that lesson again. It's reiterating about rejection. About rejection is God's protection. You need to kind of like think about it. You need to think in that direction. This is actually a really talking about that you have had, it's obviously karmic, divine intervention. Look at this person has the 2 8s and they're like not willing to commit. Absolutely. They don't want to grow that. They don't want to commit. And you're like, you're still guarded. You're still insisting, or one party is still insisting on some attitudes, and it has to be this way. Remember, the very first card that came through here is for the both. There is like a sacrifice that needs to be made about that. And you know, you're saying, why would I sacrifice if I'm not getting this partner? No, but you're learning a lesson that actually is shifting you in a different kind of like vibrational mode, in different energy. And that energy is actually able to attract somebody who actually is better, who almost like you're going to feel, I dodged that bullet, right? In the future. Yeah, guys. You know, there is like this need to minimize this, to understand this like back down to the basics. And look at this. It's kind of like it almost like feels like you're going backward. And you will go backward if you really don't understand that this is kind of like thing that you need to do. You need to understand that, look at this, 7 and 7 and 7. And then you have 6 and 6, and where the heck did I see the third 6, right? Clearly 7 and 6 is 13, so we have 3 times 13. So you are having that 13 in tarot is card called death, and it really talks about transformation. It's telling you that yes, something has to end in order to move forward, and it's not going to be the same as it was before. And everything, because you also have the 7s, it's telling me that you need to work on you. There is like that still kind of like teeter-totter, going forward, going backward. What do I do? How do I do about it? How do I go about that, right? Jeffy, I'm going to show you furry behind. Come on, too much information, too much information. Guys, don't spend 1 more hour obsessing. Do not think about what they're doing. Are they with someone? Do not check their Instagram. Do not check their social media, because it's going to prolong your pain. This is not about them. Trust me on this one. It is about you. It is how quickly you'll be able to jump back on your feet and get angry and to say, yeah, I deserve this, and I don't want any of this crap. I need something that is worthy of me, and I'm not going to kind of like sit and wait for this kind of like things to happen. So it's kind of like a really big spiritual lesson, and it will be really interesting to see how guys are going through that. I would love to hear your comments, guys, and remember, check your ascendant, check your moon sign at the very least, and this might not be you at all, so just feel free to contact me if you want a reading, and that's possibly the best, to have a one-on-one date with me, and you can do that via my website, cattarot.ca. Thank you, guys. Love you. All the best.